the Gould Mine podcast.
And if you can't get converts at these 4 stages, and I framed it that way because it's really hard for guys to get they can be like, hey, Lance, I believe in what you're saying. But then I'm like, but you're still not doing it, right? Like you're not doing yourself justice. Like I'm not saying brag about yourself. I'm saying teach me how you do what you do so that I can see, you can demonstrate to me that you know what you're talking about, right? And you need to appreciate that I might be ignorant to many of these things. So that means that you're going to have to explain some things to me. Like I've got a client that happens to be in Dallas who is doing multifamily development, but they're building, everything's in cold form steel, light gauge steel. So rather than timber. That's right. Well, there's a ton of benefits for doing that. Well, the problem is that most people have no idea what the hell cold form steel is, right? Like they don't know what that is. Right. So like we have to teach you what it is and why it matters and why it's better and why it's cheaper to build and all those things before anything else happens. I have to convince them that, building multifamily with cold form steel is better than doing it with timber, right? That has nothing to do with the sponsor. Nothing. It has everything to do with the strategy, right? Because you could probably convince them that it makes sense, but then if you can't convince them that you're the right guys to build using that innovative material, then, right, then you're still sunk. So it helps them understand where are people at. And when you're raising money from high net worth individuals, which is what I think everyone should, that's the best source of capital. They just don't know. They do something else. They're a dentist by day or a pilot by day or whatever, right? They don't know the stuff like we know it, but to assume they do is what causes them they get really insecure because they don't have the confidence. So it's just understanding and meet them where they're at. Let me teach you how we do what we do. Don't be afraid they're going to run out and do what you're doing, right? If you've done it right, they're going to be like, wow, that's a lot of work. So there's all sorts of good things that happen when you really get in detail about how you do what you do, because then when they go, 2% acquisition fee, instead of them thinking that's ridiculous, that's so high, they're going, now it makes sense to me now. You guys look at a lot of stuff to get one deal done. You've earned it. So that's the name of this game. It's not like other service businesses or something. This is people's money. This is a high ticket sale. And that means that you need, your messaging and your marketing and certainly your sales ability, right? Because that's why I call it investment sales. You're selling something and you need to know what you're doing. There's better ways to sell stuff than other ways. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, this is a fascinating conversation, man. I think that it sounds like you really understand both sides, you understand both perspectives, and so you the 4 conversions. Now I'm wondering, from an LP standpoint, because that's really like a GP sponsor checklist, right? Have I executed at these 4 levels? Have I convinced them about alternative investments, or are they convinced? Have we, pitched our strategy in a way that makes sense to them? Have we sold ourselves the right way? And then, have we proven to them that we could be a trustworthy steward of their capital? That's the checklist, right? Now, on the LP side of things, what is the LP version of that? When vetting a deal, vetting a sponsor, walk me through that.
Yeah, well, I think I came up with the former first. I came up with the latter first, right? So for me, that was what it was. Our process, when you think about it, was, I kind of shared it earlier. What did I say?
Yeah.
We want to go what's that saying? We like certain strategies. Then what do we do? So we were sold on a strategy. Then what do? We went and found a sponsor who could execute it. Right? Are these guys any good at what they do? And then we meet them. We're like, do we trust that these guys can get this thing done? Right. So when you think about it, it's the same process. Now it's called dysfunctional sales practices, right? Dysfunctional buying practices lead to dysfunctional sales practices and vice versa. So that's a bit of the issue, right? Is that many of the LPs are deal hunting. And that's why sponsors are probably reacting to that. I need to pitch the deal, the highest IRR, the highest equity multiple, the highest cash on cash returns, because that's what they're sensing from them. So that's what I teach the LPs, the same thing. You got to change the way you're approaching this. First of all, you don't know enough about this. You're too ignorant, right? You don't know what you're doing. Okay. So you got to learn. And then don't go worrying about who's got what deals. Go figure out which groups are doing things that are of interest to you, right? Like, have an opinion yourself. You need to have your own thesis. And so I think it's the same thing. It's just, it comes down to, obviously when I'm teaching them, I'm like, you got to read every document, right? Once you get to understand what these things mean, what these terms mean, that kind of stuff. Make sure that you're given access to the financial information. Never invest in someone that's not willing to provide you with, show their work on the pro forma, right? Don't get overcome with the fancy pictures, right? So just like, I'm just teaching the same groups, the same things, just in a different way, right? Like do it this way instead and you'll have a better outcome, right? Like I say things like culture. So like to LPs who don't seem to bring that up on their list, they bring up things like you said, how many full cycle deals have you had? How much skin in the game do you have? I happen to think those two things aren't as important as people think they are. I'm looking at who's building a real company. Who are these individual players? Do their skill sets complement, right? Like who woke up this morning is in charge of acquisitions? Who woke up this morning on the team that's in charge of making sure the business plan gets executed? Asset management. Who woke up this morning is in charge of sourcing equity capital? Who woke up this morning, his job to take care of the LPs after you get them? Who woke up this morning to make sure that the financials get done and the K1s get out on time? Like that's how you just look at it. Do they have a culture? Do they have core values that they abide by? Do they have a mission and a purpose? And do they believe in something? Do they have conviction over their strategy? Right? Those are the things that we looked at, and those are the things that I think other people should look at. And that's what I teach the GPs to do. You don't have, you have a soulless organization. You don't have no soul. You don't have any culture, right? Like this is you is just buying deals. Like you won't get where you're trying to go. Like this is a real business. You need to build it out. Like it's not just, we find great deals, we underwrite deals, and then we execute. It's like, you've got to have marketing and you got to have investment sales. Cause I ask a lot of people like, do you have a sales department? I'm like, sales department? No, we don't have a sales department. I'm like, that's your problem. You should. If you're raising money for people, you should have a sales department. Who are your sales guys? You know? Well, I don't have one. It's me. I'm like, are you classically trained at selling? No, here's your problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're a trader. You're not a salesman. You're a trader. You like to buy low, sell high. That's what you do. So you're not trained as a sales. Why do you think, yes, can you convince people with your charisma that, maybe you're worth investing with? Maybe, but maybe not. Right. So you need to build a team of actual people who wake in the morning and say, I'm a salesperson. That's what I do.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. And I couldn't agree more.